Welcome, luxury enthusiasts, to the Luxury Travelers Podcast, hosted by Rodney George. The ultimate passport to opulent destinations, extravagant experiences, and unparalleled indulgence. Whether one is a seasoned jet setter or daydreaming of the next lavish getaway, the Luxury Travelers Podcast has it all covered. So buckle up and prepare for a journey into the lap of luxury. Now, your host.
Okay, good afternoon, good evening, or maybe even good morning, whatever time you're finally getting around to listening to this podcast. We have a very special guest today, and he's very special in a whole lot of ways, and we'll talk a little bit about that as we get into it. But our guest today is Glen Rothe, who's the Vice President of Trade Sales for North America for Crystal Cruises, which is quite an interesting story over the last 4 years with Crystal Cruises. And Glen's here to tell us all about that. So welcome to the show, Glen.
Hey, thanks, Rodney. I appreciate it. Happy to be here. Happy to share.
Glad you're here. And it's exciting that after some questions for the last, 2.5, 3 years, Crystal is now not only back, but they're a part of another great brand. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. Yeah. So, Crystal has had a long history. It goes back to 1988. They've been sailing since 1988. But over the last probably 4 years ago or so, 3 or 4 years ago, as with a lot of companies, especially in the travel industry, there were some challenges due to COVID. Crystal just had to suspend all our operations in the beginning of 2022, actually. So not too long ago, but by June of that year, Manfredi Lefebvre, who's now one of our chairmen, purchased the two ocean vessels and purchased the name. I mean, Manfredi had always wanted to get back into luxury cruising after selling Silversea to Royal Caribbean, I think it was 2020 time period or so. And he always wanted to get into luxury cruising, so this was his opportunity to do that. He bought the two ships, the Crystal Serenity and Crystal Symphony, and we started selling a little over about a year and a half ago, the beginning of 2023, and then started sailing last summer. So things are back at Crystal.
I'll tell you, the reviews we're getting from our clients are nothing short of raving. And these are loyal Crystal customers that were the first ones to get back out there with you guys. And they can't say enough good stuff about what you guys did to those two ships.
Yeah, we spent about $150 million on them. And we had to. They're not brand new ships, and we're competing with a lot of great, brand new ships in the luxury market. So, the way I look at it, when you're looking at these two ships is, if you think of like some of the Grand Dame hotels that are out there, you don't look at the St. Regis in London or I don't know what would be another hotel, like the Carlton in Cannes or the Peninsula in Hong Kong. You don't look at them when you walk in and go, oh wow, this ship is old. I don't want to, I don't want to be here. I don't want to sail. That's not, you think of, these are these Grand Dame hotels, these wonderful, classic, stylish, they're updated and they're beautiful. And that's how I look at the Serenity and the Symphony is, these are wonderful ships that we've spent a lot of money on to redo all the guest cabins, the suites, a lot of the interior public spaces as well. And they're beautiful. And, to your point, the feedback that we're getting is absolutely fantastic.
Well, it's my understanding, and I haven't been on board Serenity or Symphony yet since the renovation, but you took all the interior walls down, basically substantially increased the size of those staterooms, and along with the refurbishing.
Yeah, and we had to, because that's what we're competing against. We're competing against some brand new ships that are out there. And so one of the things that we did that I thought was pretty cool was on a couple of the decks, we went down to the steel on the decks, and we had on both the ships, the Symphony and the Serenity, they're slightly different in size. The Serenity is a little bigger than the Symphony, but we realized in order to compete, we needed to have bigger staterooms, more space. That's what people are looking for these days, especially when it comes to a luxury travel market. So when these ships were originally built, they had a lot of these entry-level double guest rooms that were about 215 square feet or so. And when you're looking at the two ships, we probably had, easily 300 over 300 of those cabins on board both of those ships. So what we did was we combined two of those together to make our wonderful Sapphire Suite. So now we've got these 2-room Sapphire Suites that are 430 square feet apiece. You've got your separate living space on one side with a walk-in closet, a separate sleeping area with a huge bathroom on the other side. So we took 2 of those double staterooms to make the Sapphire Suites. We took 3 of them, put them together to make the junior penthouse, and then we took 5 of them and put them together to make the Crystal penthouse. So yeah, that's one way, and it's one way obviously to increase the size of your suites. But another thing that happens is we didn't shrink the size of the ships. So both of these ships originally, when they came out, they had a capacity of over 1,000 guests, and now the Symphony is at 606 and the Serenity's at 740. So now you've got these beautiful brand new ships that were originally built to have 1,000 guests on them, but there's roughly 30% less guests. So the size of the staterooms got bigger, but just the overall space, that guest to space ratio is considerably larger. So,
well, the other thing that our clients were amazed at is that, and correct me if I'm wrong, but somewhere around 90% of the Crystal crew from previously Crystal have come back, and it's like old home week.
That is huge. I mean, Crystal has always been known for its service, and it's high touch, high delivery of customer service on board. And you're right that it's entirely on the crew to be able to provide that type of service. So having the ability to bring, I think it was 85, we're probably a little over that right now, % of the crew back. That makes all the difference in the world. So that continuity of service that we've always provided, that guests remember if they'd sailed on the prior version of Crystal, that's back. And I constantly hear from our travel partners and from guests that they'll tell me, I sailed on Crystal 25 times, and I haven't, I hadn't sailed on them again until this past January or March. And they'll tell me that as great as the experience was on the old Crystal, it's better than it was before. And that just blows me away every time I hear it. And it's consistent. That's a consistent feedback that I hear from our guests. So it truly is amazing, and truly speaks to just the wonderful crew that's on the ship, both how they're treated and how they treat our guests.
Well, and what's happening with those people, I mean, they were the former Crystal cruisers at least in our franchise, are the first ones to come back to Crystal because they loved the brand. And now they're like marketing apostles for you out there when they're talking about, all the changes you guys made and the larger space, the larger staterooms, and the sheer fact that this 85-90% of the crew came back. That speaks so highly for that brand. I don't know that anybody in the travel industry, and you were in the travel industry with another brand for a long time, I don't think anybody can speak to that like you guys.
Not at all. And, being in cruising for over 15 years now, the turnover for most cruise lines with their crew, it happens. It's just a fact of life that most cruise lines deal with. But to be able to have, again, that continuity of crew and the continuity of service, especially for all these loyal guests that had sailed with us in the past, and we're really looking forward to sailing with Crystal again, that's what makes the difference. I had the chance back in January to be in Miami when we were boarding our world cruise in Miami. And it was just amazing the number of people that were coming up the escalator. I mean, first of all, I must have heard, I'm so thankful we're back home again. I heard that so many times, but they were just looking forward to meeting seeing those crew members again that they had established these long relationships with before. So whether it was their favorite sommelier or their favorite butler or concierge, it's this familial environment that they have when they go on board. So they're treated like family. The crew feels like family. So it makes for a great experience, definitely.
Now, not only did you do the remodeling of the rooms, the refurbishing of the rooms, the enlargement of the rooms, but tell our listeners what you've done about all the other space. And in particular, I'm a huge fan of Nobu. So,
I mean, thankfully, we've had a great relationship for many years with Chef Nobu. So, to be able to have him back on board with Umi Uma, which is our Nuba restaurant on board, which actually was just awarded the best restaurant at Sea Trade's Food and Beverage Awards. So that's, a surprise to no one, I think, who has experienced a Nubu. We also introduced a new Italian restaurant, Osteria di Video, which is a high-end Italian restaurant. It's actually named after our chairman, Manfredi Lefebvre di Video. It's his family name. So the culinary experience on board is really, I think, second to none. And, actually, we just introduced a new restaurant that's going to be coming on board both our ships within the next couple months, called Beef Bar. And so Beef Bar is probably not a name that most North Americans are familiar with. They actually just opened an outlet in New York, I guess earlier this year. But so the Beef Bar is going to be it's going to be where Taste is located today. So if you're familiar with the ship, we've got a great restaurant. It's going to combine some of the great dishes from Beef Bar, but also Taste, because we don't really want to take anything away from people that love Taste. But it's a chef, Roberto Girardi. He's got restaurants in Monaco and London and Hong Kong and Dubai, and soon to be on the Serenity and the Symphony. And despite the name, because everybody thinks, oh, Beef Bar, is that all they have? They actually excel in all aspects of culinary experience, because when you look at their menu, they've got. I actually had the chance about a month ago. I was in Dubai, and the hotel I was staying at had a Beef Bar in it. So going to Beef Bar and seeing their menu, and it's got beef, a beef section, obviously, a reef section for seafood, and a leaf section for vegetarians. So we're going to be featuring all different types of their cuisine on board the two ships in that new venue. So we're looking forward to it.
Okay, so we've covered the stateroom enhancements. We've covered the overall space. We've covered the dining. Oh, how about the entertainment on board? Because Crystal was always known for their evening entertainment.
That continues. Haven't missed a beat there. We've got great Tony Award-winning artists that are on board doing some nightly shows. We've got our Dine and Dance Supper Club, which is also fantastic as well. We've got our dance hosts. Of course, we've got enrichment as well. So we've got a lot of speakers that are on board that are specific to the locations and the itineraries that we're sailing through. We've got a great theater actually that shows first-run Hollywood movies as well. So at any point in the day or evening, there's always some live music going on. There's always the ability to just sit down, have a cocktail, enjoy a duo or a full-sized swing orchestra. There's the entertainment on board. It really is second to none, and that really has continued.
What about the ballroom dancing? I know that was a fan favorite with Crystal. Is that back as well?
That continues, yes. It does continue. We do that, throughout the cruise multiple times. And again, for those for those guests that might be a little shy or don't necessarily have a dance partner, or maybe they're not with a partner that likes to dance, that's where those dance hosts come into play as well. So we've got people that can help out with a variety of different dance lessons, or just I've got two left feet, so I am not one of those that would be out there on the dance floor. I enjoy watching ballroom dancing. I really do. I think it's just beautiful to watch. But man, when I get out on the dance floor, I just feel like a klutz. So.
Well, you and I would be together over having a great glass of scotch or something, because I'm the same way. But I know that the people that love it, and it is beautiful to watch. And so glad that that's still part of Crystal, and I know our clients will be as well, because and then the host program. We probably have some people that are going, what is he saying? What are these hosts? Why don't you explain that a little bit? Because I think that's fairly unique to your brand.
Yeah, it's just we've got crew members on board that obviously know how to dance, right? They've got whether it's I don't know. See, I'm not a dancer, but I know the two-step, the salsa, a variety of different ballroom dances that are out there. So they go out and they kind of start the crowd, right? So if you've got this beautiful dance music playing in the background, they'll be out there on the dance floor enticing people to come out and dance with them. And the feedback that we get from guests, and as it always has been, is overwhelming because they enjoy coming on to Crystal. They enjoy the ballroom dancing. They enjoy some of those traditional things that we do, like the afternoon tea that we do as well. So it really is, it's a great experience for people that just enjoy cruising, enjoy relaxing, enjoying those finer things that they should expect from a luxury brand.
Yeah, the host programs was a fan favorite too, because it let guys like you and me off the hook.
Absolutely, you're right.
And yet our wives or traveling companions were able to get their dancing on.
Well, I'm glad we're in the same boat on that one, Rodney. So yes, thank you.
I've just if you see me on a dance floor, I've been overserved.
Well, yeah, that's true. Or at a wedding, late night at a wedding, you might get me out there. But other than that, no, not going to happen.
How's this going to overlap with A&K, with Abercrombie and Kent, who long have been one of the largest and best luxury land purveyors? How, is that going to come to? Are there going to be some interaction there?
Absolutely, and this is one of the things that we're most excited about. Is with Abercrombie Kent, they've been obviously well known in the luxury land sector for over 60 years in providing luxury land experiences. And then, of course, you've got Crystal, who, for 30 years has been providing these fantastic luxury cruise experiences on board. So now we've got both of those companies together. And it's actually, the way it came about was, Manfredi Lefebvre and Jeffrey Kent are old friends. And when Manfredi had the opportunity to purchase Crystal and purchase these two ocean vessels, that's when the Abercrombie Kent Travel Group was formed in partnership with Jeffrey Kent. So together we think that we've got this great opportunity to provide luxury cruise and land experiences, because being in the cruise industry for 15 years, I know that that's always been a challenge with any cruise company, is controlling the guest experience when the guests get off the ship. Now, if I know that you've got guests on board and I'm handing them over in any port of call over to our A&K family members to help with a shore excursion or a pre and post itinerary or an overland tour, I know that the guests are kind of coming back and going, wow, that is one of the best experiences that I ever had. So, knowing that, I think, and being able to control that guest experience, both when your guests are on board the ship as well when they're off the ship in whether they're embarking somewhere or any port of call, that for us, I think, is going to be our differentiator going forward. And starting in with our World Cruise in 2025, you're really going to see that integration happening. And just to kind of give you a little bit insight of how that's going to work,
please.
For instance, World Cruise starts out in Fort Lauderdale next year. So it's 123 nights, 75 destinations, 24 different countries. One of the great examples of that is the ship is going to go through the Panama Canal and head down the coast of South America. But in one of our port stops in Ecuador, guests can get off the ship, just take hand luggage with them, and we will give them a Galapagos overland tour where they stay in 5-star hotel properties for 3 nights and 4 days. They experience the Galapagos as Galapagos should be experienced, and then they hop back on the ship in that next port of call. So they're able to really experience the A&K portion of it, because all these land experiences are procured from Abercrombie Kent, but then they get back on the ship. Another example, Machu Picchu is another great one. So they depart the ship in Saliveri, they experience, the wonderful experience that is Machu Picchu, and then rejoin the ship 4 days later. So whether it's that kind of overland tour or just a shore excursion where you get no port of call and you get to experience any of these Abercrombie Kent tours while you're there, or even pre or post your trip, you've got opportunities as well, because Abercrombie Kent has got, I think almost 60 owned DMCs in 30 countries around the world. So we cover a lot of territory, both on the land and in the ocean.
Wow, that's exciting, because if you put your passengers in the hands of your sister brand there, A&K, they're going to come back with a big smile on their face, as opposed to in many ports of call around the world, you don't know. Even though they're vetted, you just don't know, right?
Yeah, and that again is going to be a true differentiator, I think, for us as a company, and in a market that's increasingly getting more crowded in this luxury cruise environment that we're working in, having a differentiator is going to be huge. It's going to be a huge advantage for us.
So, Glenn, you spent a lot of time with another brand over, I guess I can go ahead and mention that
Sure.
Norwegian Cruise Lines.
Uh-huh.
And you guys, one thing you guys did a lot of while you were there is you built a lot of new ships.
Yep.
I understand that there's some news actually that just came out
Just today.
About what you guys are doing.
Just today. Thank you. Yeah. We just announced today that we're going to be building 2 new ocean ships. It had been out there a little bit, but we didn't have a time frame in mind yet for when that was going to happen. But we just announced today the 2 new ocean ships. The first one will be delivered in the spring of 2028. The second ship will come a little bit after that. And then we actually have an option on a third ocean ship, which will be delivered probably in in 2032. So first one, spring of 2028. We also, let me tell you a little bit about these ocean ships actually before I get into the next announcement. There'll be 2 690 passenger ships. So they'll be slightly larger than the Symphony, slightly smaller than the Serenity, about 62,000 tons. One thing that I've heard a lot of excitement about is the fact that we're going to continue our promenade deck that goes all the way around the exterior of the ship. And that you don't really see that a lot anymore on new ships. It's great for walking, seeing sunsets in the evening or sunrises in the morning, to be able to walk around the complete exterior of the ship. So that'll be on there. And then of course we're going to have our wonderful dining and entertainment opportunities as well. One unique feature that we are going to be adding are single occupancy cabins with a private veranda for solo travelers. Over the last several years, it's become a lot more prominent for solo travelers to be, expecting that sort of thing, to be able to have, staterooms or suites just for solo travelers. So for single occupancy cabins, we're really looking out for our solo travelers, since we do have quite a few of them on board. So now we're going to have solo cabins with a private veranda. And then that next announcement I was also going to make, we mentioned we're bringing our casinos back. So we did have casinos on board with the prior version of Crystal. We took them off when we came back last year. But we have a partnership now with Casino Monte Carlo, which is that very well-known company in Monte Carlo that runs the casino there. It'll be on both ships, on the Crystal, Serenity, and the Symphony, as well as the new ones. Starting on the Symphony in November, mid-November is when we have our chairman's cruise. So both Jeffrey Kent and Manfredi will be sailing on that November 14th sailing for Venice. We'll have a opening of our casino then, and then the Serenity will be probably later in December. And then also one more thing, if you don't mind me adding something else.
Actually, 2 more things, right?
two more things. We're going to be we also have we're going to be building 2 expedition ships as well. Yeah. Now we haven't officially announced when those are happening, but we are getting back into the expedition cruise market. The prior version of Crystal, they were involved in both ocean, river, and expedition, as well as having 2 airplanes. I don't think we're buying any airplanes anytime soon. We're not going to do that. We're going to stick with what we know, which right now is ocean and expedition. So.
Wow. So you got a full plate.
Yeah, that's why it's an exciting time. It's it's like being part of a startup almost, but it's a startup with a very proven product and a very well-known brand. But it's a startup nonetheless. I'm looking out over the office here in Aventura, and I see our trade reservations team here working, and our marketing team, and our PR team, and we're still a small company, and we've got 2 ships right now, but having the addition of 2 more coming, and then a few expedition after that, we've got a lot of great things to look forward to over the next several years for sure.
Well, I know that the reemergence of Crystal put a big smile on a lot of people's faces that were familiar with your brand, and we're glad to see you guys back. And I'm glad to see you guys back because you were a quality class player in the luxury cruise space, and it's great that you came back with 2 great names behind.
Yep.
Crystal.
Absolutely.
You've got the Sir Jeffrey, and you got Manfredi. By the way, I know Manfredi is a cigar aficionado,
yep.
And I'll bet you that you've got cigar lounges on these 2 ships.
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
Okay.
Definitely. with a nice selection of cigars as well. So, if anybody gets that urge to be able to sit down in there and, have to your point, have a nice glass of bourbon or scotch and a nice cigar, sailing along, regardless of where you're at, whether you're in the Mediterranean or the Atlantic or whatever, I don't know. You've done it before. I've done it before. It's a great experience.
Well, I know that if you step foot on a ship that Manfredi had anything to do with, there's going to be a very worthwhile place to light up that favorite cigar.
Definitely. Absolutely. Yep.
Anything else that you want to throw out there for the listeners?
Well, one of the things that, I've been at Crystal for about 8 months, and I've had the chance to experience a couple of the couple cruises on the Serenity. I'm actually going to be going on the Symphony in October of this year. But one of the things that really stood out to me when I sailed was the level of service that we provide on board. And I thought I knew good customer service, but apparently I didn't, because it's a whole different level when you sail with Crystal. And I usually lead with this example because I think everybody who's sailed with us kind of has their own version of this story. But this is my experience with when I quickly realized that Crystal was different. I had been on the ship in January. I had a few of my salespeople come on with me because they hadn't experienced Crystal before. And, as a good salesperson, you always want to experience the product that you're selling. So I brought them on board. I was in my suite doing some work at my desk. I think it was before the ship had started sailing, and doing some emails, as we tend to do, because it was Friday. Work day hadn't ended yet. And I'd gotten thirsty, so I wanted to get something to drink. And I'm a Coke Zero drinker. I don't drink Diet Coke. I drink Coke Zero. So I went over to our refrigerator. It's a fully stocked refrigerator, but it was fully stocked with Coke and Diet Coke. And I'm like, oh, Diet Coke, not a fan of that. So I'm like, I know we have Coke Zero on board. So let me go out. Went out to the bar, got a Coke Zero, brought it back to my room. Sitting there doing email. I got a knock on my door, and it's my butler. And he is dropping off some snacks, in the afternoon, as they tend to do. He didn't really think anything of it. But he left, and then shortly thereafter, I had to get ready for dinner. So I left, went to dinner that evening, had a wonderful dinner in Umiuma, came back, and it was a long day, so I was ready to hit the sack. So I was getting ready for bed. I'm like, let me get some water, opened up the refrigerator, get a bottle of water, looked in there, and I looked again. There was no Diet Coke in there anymore. It was just Coke Zero. So apparently the butler realized as I was sitting there, because as you may or may not know, people don't drink Diet Coke and Coke Zero. It's either one or the other. So the butler realized I was a Coke Zero drinker. He, when he was doing the turn down service, he came in, took all the Diet Coke out, replaced it with Coke Zero. And to me, I was like, wow, that right there is the Crystal difference for me, right? This is my story of experiencing it. And it was that level of proactive customer service that you just don't get that anymore today. I mean, you get good customer service and it's usually reactive, but proactive customer service where you don't even realize what had happened until afterwards, and you're like, and that's when I realized, I'm like, okay, this is the Crystal difference.
There's no substitution for the attention to detail.
Yeah, no, it was great.
It is. One other question, and then we'll wrap up. Under 18 years of age, what do we do with those kind of people on Crystal?
Oh, sure. So, we do have a kids program on board. We've actually, on both ships, have 2 dedicated areas, one for the smaller kids, one for the older kids. We don't tend to focus on kids, but we also know, one of the things about cruising is people tend to book in advance. They book their cruises in advance. So we are always well aware of how many people are going to be on board, how many children are going to be on board. So usually during the summer season, like the summer season in Alaska, or maybe the summer season in the Med, and then definitely over the holidays, we will staff the ship with counselors and programming for kids. So it doesn't necessarily happen every cruise, but we do have the 2 dedicated areas for it. We do programming for them when we know that they're going to be I say a lot of kids. There's never a lot of kids on board, but when there's
Right.
a fair number of kids on board, where they might want to, or the parents might want to take a break and bring them to those areas. We do have that on board for them as well.
Well, the reason I ask is based in Naples, Florida, we do a lot of multi-generational vacation where we've got 3 or 4 generations of a family. So that's always a good thing to know, is that there are some things for those children to be occupied with, as opposed to sitting around being, quote, bored all the
Right.
time.
Absolutely.
Well, Glenn, this was very enlightening. I'm glad that you were able to come on the show. I'm really glad that Crystal is back, and some exciting things that I took notes on here today.
Good.
Of what you guys have coming. So all the best to you as you continue to redevelop and build out your brand. And we will hopefully see you on board a Crystal ship sometime soon.
Yep, definitely. Rodney, I appreciate everything that you do for us as well. I mean, if it wasn't for our travel partners like yourselves helping us kind of guide us back into coming back and getting back into the industry, we wouldn't be here today. So you finding guests that are a good fit for us, that makes all the difference. So thanks for that.
My pleasure. And remember, everybody, enjoy yourself.
Absolutely.
It's later than you think.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us on the Luxury Travelers Podcast. For more information, head on over to luxurytravelerspodcast.com to connect with our team or leave us a message. Until next time, safe travels and savor the extraordinary.